Hello, welcome to this Envelope Live screening. My name is Glenn Whipp. I'm a columnist with the Los Angeles Times, and today you're joining us for screening of Spencer, a look at a long weekend in the life of Princess Diana as she tries to forge her own identity and break free from the royal family. Joining us today, the Oscar-nominated actress playing Princess Diana, Kristen Stewart.
Hi, how's it going?
And I like your glasses. Have not seen those before.
Thank you. Yeah, well, because I don't need them. Just a little concealer today.
Okay. So we've been on a journey. We talked 6 months ago, I think, at Telluride Film Festival. Lots happened in the 6 months. What has this your journey since the movie premiered at Venice, going to this moment, 1st of March, actually 2nd of March, what's it feel like?
I have this really great opportunity to talk to people all the time. Yeah. And it's weird. It's like I as an actor, I just want to as a human, I just want to be understood and reveal myself. That's the whole goal, as close as you can get to that. And I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've just had such a wonderful life because of it. And I've never been considered for an Oscar. I've never been a part of that conversation. It's really tripped me out how much fun it's been, because I just never saw myself in this arena. And we made a movie about someone who can't talk for herself. She's somebody whose expression is being cut off and stifled. And so I just feel really lucky to be able to kind of I don't know, open heart surgery this one, just sort of go because it's scary and vulnerable, and you get nervous. You've talked to a lot of people about stuff that you really care about, and you don't always get it right. And sometimes you totally blunder, and then you're learn from that. And I haven't talked about one movie for this long ever. And I think it definitely speaks to the experience that I had with Pablo and making The Thing. I'm still having a really great time doing it.
Thank God you like this movie, right?
Thank God. Well, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't have survived. Yeah.
I mean, and the journey you mentioned, this is all new to you, Oscar nominee. Because you've been doing this. It's interesting. I don't think people realize, or a lot of people at least, realize how long you have been forging your craft as an actor. What's that journey been like to get to this point? Did you ever think that you would reach the point where, you're in this Oscar nominee club now?
No. It's funny because it's, when you watch stuff like this, there's the worst thing. It's so false modesty is just such a, it's really bad. It's really uncomfortable. I am stunned. I am shocked. I'm still genuinely reeling. Yeah, full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to hear your name even mentioned, and this is also stuff I've heard people say, because it's when you fall in love or something, all of the songs that seemed cliche before are actually so meaningful. Right now, I'm to be mentioned in the same breath as Nicole Kidman and Olivia Colman and Jessica Chastain and Penelope Cruz. I'm it doesn't feel real. It actually feels like I'm making this up. I'm this, my simulation and how I'm designing it is really good. I'm doing a great job.
Yeah. So it's like hearing the Beach Boys, "Wouldn't It Be Nice," for the first time after you've met that special someone.
Exactly. Very well put. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though that, is there as you look back on this journey to get here, not just the journey of Spencer, but just the journey of your working actor career, is there a pivot point or breakthrough moment, or just something that you kind of look back now and see, oh, okay, this kind of set me on the path to get to where I am right now?
Yeah, I guess this whole thing, like trying to find yourself and become close to other people and closer to like understanding what your life is through making art, it is just this constant like pivoting negotiation between instincts and expectation and desire and ambition and fear. And I've been doing that since I was like so little, which is such a trip. But I don't know who I would be without that. I can't imagine that hypothetical, and I would have found something else, I'm sure, to kind of do this thing that it's like we start talking about acting and process and stuff, and it's all semantics. We're just talking about living. We're just talking about being alive, and like the way movies have allowed me to get closer to myself, to like really understand like our changing world is that's my relationship with like my life. I don't know. I've every step along the way, that's here we are. I don't know. I've kind of navigated pretty instinctively and I don't know.
Yeah. Like anyone's career, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's no plan. You're just going by instinct. And yet, it's a journey, and here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you're talking about identity, because that's a key part of Spencer. Is Diana trying to stake her claim for her own identity? It's right in the name of the movie itself. I was remembering when I was preparing for this conversation, I was remembering a comment that Pablo Larraín, the director, told me. He described it as he described Spencer as an elegant prison. She's checking into an elegant prison at the beginning of the movie, and then I was watching it again the other night, and it's like, yeah, it's like a Prison Break movie. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, the first time he actually said that out loud and was like, this is my Prison Break movie. Prison Break movies are great. They're classic. I was like, wow, that's such a cool. And then most recently he said something new. Like, that's the thing, talking about this movie, we always find new ways of kind of finding words for it. He was like, we did a ghost story. I was like, gosh, it's so true. It feels, because every time you look at her, you know that she's gone. And so it just feels like it's just very, there's a haunted thing happening that's more than just like the tonal quality of the movie being a little bit on the horror side occasionally. There's something about that. Recently he said that, and I was just like, wow, that's really beautiful. And like, how cool that we get to hold her again.
Yeah. It's the kind of movie that you can definitely watch repeatedly and like, okay, now it's this movie or now it's that movie. You're seeing new things in it. I guess that's circling back to what you were talking about before. I mean, that's what's kept it interesting for you for the last 6 months, because you can keep talking about it, and like people will bring their own experiences to it. People seem to bring their own experience to like Diana herself, don't they?
That's the weird. She's a grouping of things that usually do not go together. There's such a friction. She's so normal. She's, the first royal person to like want to touch someone, but she's untouchable. It's like, you can't touch her, and she wants it. There are just things about her that don't go together, and it's really painful to watch because some of those things are so stunning. And like all of her ways of communicating are just so sideways and bottomlessly interesting, because everything's cryptic because she's not allowed to talk. And so I think in watching this movie, maybe you have a relationship with the royal family as an entity, as an idea. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're from England. Maybe you're from the US. Oddly, the story is unbelievably universal because she is normal and she's a good girl. She's like good person, and just in a very, very unique and heightened, insane situation. And yeah, I think, I mean, like my sort of the way she physically impacts me is so visceral when I see pictures, videos, anything. And I think when she's a mom, she feels the most not empowered. She feels the most unconditionally herself, and sort of unrockable. That is very normal. We all have a mom. Everyone came from a mom. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's a odd mixture of things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got the role. You had a year and a half between when you took the role, shot the film. Now you've been talking about for another 6 months. Do you feel like you understand her in a different way today than you did 6 months ago, or when you started shooting the movie? And if so, how? Or is she not understandable because of all those conflicting things? It's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I convinced myself that I understood her while I was making this movie. And I still am most attracted to the things that remain a mystery about her. She is a mysterious figure. And I think as soon as you define a thing, obviously the conversation stops. Like the fact that we've lost her in such an untimely way. The fact that this conversation is so pervasively expansive and people cannot stop making art about it, and like they just can't stop thinking about her. Of course she's undefinable. If she was definable and everyone knew exactly what that was, we wouldn't be like, what? Oh my God, what happened? Do you know what I mean? Like it makes total sense. Like also, Pablo has this unbelievably compassionate perspective to take someone, especially a woman's experience, and in a really grandiose way, acknowledge it and go inside and say, your feelings, your crazy, intense feelings are worth looking at. And they're worth like describing, you know, elaborately, like just, it's paying credence to an inner life like that. It's what I love about the movie. And it's what she needed in life. She like needed someone to hug her. She needed to be able to talk. Ultimately she did that. And she found her like mouthpiece, but it all kind of goes together,
It's funny because I was going to ask you. I was thinking like if you could somehow talk to her, what's one question you would ask? But I feel like you probably have been in conversation with her throughout the making of this movie, right? You probably were asking questions.
It's actually really interesting you say that. Like, I wonder was I very articulate internally while I was making this movie? I was definitely like fascinated by all the things that are fascinating to everyone else, like all the sort of salacious business and to do around all of the nonsense that does not matter and does not belong to us, but is like just commodified and just spread like wildfire because we're humans and that's just what it is. And I like fully understand that and I'm a part of it. But I wonder, yeah, like what the actual questions, man, where were your friends? Like wasn't there some, obviously she had many friends, many people loved her, but the isolation itself, like, I don't know. I used to think about her. I still do. I mean, probably because we're doing all this stuff, but even still, I am so affected by this person's energy and in an amorphous way. It's like, I don't know how or why, it just is. And, yeah, what an incredibly crazy concept to think of her power is just so like unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that you took more joy into your body.
Yeah. It's like very
physical. I love how you say that. I took more joy into my body because that's a physical thing. So I took more joy into my body doing this movie than anything that you'd done before. Why?
It actually is true. It's so crazy because I like it. And whatever. I have like a dramatic way of expressing things sometimes. I'll have like, a bite of soup and be like, this is the best soup I've ever had. But the
I love
very
that.
best, yeah, the best time I have ever had making a movie, and let me be more specific, not just best, the most enlivening and physical experience I've ever had was on this movie. And I love making movies. I really have had great experiences. She's so viscerally alive, and she's so tall. And I don't mean literally. And it feels so good to live in that skin, even when she feels like not good at all. There's something to protect. There's something inside that is, she has such a vivid inner life because she's such an interesting and rich person. To sort of like dance through that every day and feel, even if I was making it up, that effect she was having on me was coming through me and having an effect on the crew. And we all were just like so reliant on each other and so together. I have never experienced that particular brand of like elation. I was like, I am so alive. Like just, I had the best time. Our crew was incredible. Like every single day, I want to go back and do it again. It was amazing. I want to work with Pablo again.
Yeah, so this is like the first time making a movie, perhaps, that you felt like the leader on the set, or like I'm yeah, a little bit of that.
And it's slightly kind of a weird thing to say and a little embarrassing, but actually I had to convince myself of that, or I was playing Diana. Like I was playing Princess Diana. I needed to be like, this is, everyone loves me. I'm not like, she's the most widely coveted human being. And she's been like sainted and martyred. You know what I mean? It really is like a kind of a daunting thing to step towards. But as soon as you actually if you don't think about perception and you actually just step towards that light, it reflects. Like there's nothing that I don't know. I still take all of this away, like all the support and like love and accolades for this movie, which I'm so proud of. I'm so lucky to have had that experience. It was really great.
And when you mentioned sainted and loved, did you feel that when you're like going to festivals and you've been taking this movie in front of audiences? Is the reaction to your performance a little bit more intense, a little bit more felt than other things you've done?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I've seen people come out of the movie before, and like, it's, even though the movie ends on a kind of upswing, you just hold all of the loss and all of the joy at once. And they kind of, they get to a real crazy point at the end of the movie. Maybe you don't like the movie, and that's totally cool. But if you do like it, the end of it does have kind of like this kind of uplifting, like energizing tonal feel. But then immediately you're like struck with the idea that actually doesn't work out, that unfortunately we lost her. And I've seen people be affected by that notion coming out of the theater, and I'm so affected by it. And so it's nice to just, that feeling is the same, and it feels really good to be like, I know I was dealing, I mean, like we can all be together on that. And it's like, that's why to make a movie. That's why you make a movie. And so like, it feels incredible. It's really cool.
Yeah. We've talked about like the John Hughes-ness of the movie's ending, like she's leaving the sucky ex-boyfriend behind and his, loser family.
Yeah, no, they've all got pie on their face, and it's a sequence that has like a cool 80s song, and then all of a sudden you look back at him and he's like, and then you have like, you have like some ingenue running off into the distance being happy. It's just, I love the end of the movie because it seems like something she would like it has her taste, or like her kind of like sensibility. Because it's fun. It's kind of a little ridiculous. You have
like that last shot on the the last shot of her where it's just like lingering, and that's where you feel what you're talking about.
Well, because then everything rushes back.
Yeah.
It's like, and I will say, the other day, because we're doing a bunch of Q&As and sometimes you like step in for the last like 5 minutes of the movie. The score in that moment is so impressive. The choice to bring the score back, because we outran that music. Like we outran that horrible, even though it's beautiful and I love the score, it is scary and it is grating and it is relentless. And then we get away and we have this like Mike and Mechanic song. We're singing in the car. And then the song comes back and you're like, oh no. It was such a good choice. I only noticed that this time. I was like, whoa, it's such a great idea. And no wonder, because then it makes you hold the whole movie again right before it ends. It's like such a good choice.
Yeah, beautiful. And your work, it's just, I've seen it a few times. Gets deeper, gets better each time. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, and of course. Thanks for having me. I always love talking to you about movies or tacos. Either way.
Yeah.